Alright, what's poppin', everybody? Today we're gonna be doing a new what if. Now this what if I just recently thought of, and I thought it'd be pretty cool to try out, you know? So, today we're going to be doing what if Deku could do a nice, pretty cool little trick. So, you know the game Yu-Gi-Oh? It's a really fun card game, right? Well, I find it really fun. What if he had cards that could actually alter reality? Now, you may be wondering, whoa, back it up a second. How is this going to work? Well, I'll tell you right after this brief. Anyway, so, like I was saying, you may be wondering, but Red, how is he going to get this? Or how is this going to work? Well, it's quite simple. See, a very odd thing will happen when, the USJ event happens. Yeah, we're jumping straight into USJ. Everything goes according to canon. Except, Izuku, a little while after Izuku got One for All, something awakened in him. He's been having these really weird dreams about a man who fought against shadows with cards. He had 5 pieces. These 5 pieces were called the Forbidden One. Every time this creature was summoned by using all 5, the forces of evil would immediately be destroyed. So, yeah, it's really weird. He hasn't told anyone about these dreams, though. So, getting into the what if, actual what if, when Midoriya when he goes to punch the Nomu, the Nomu backhands him afterward. So Mineta and Aizawa get away. Midoriya is launched into like a wall. He's pretty badly hurt, and he hears a voice as something begins to Midoriya begins to glow. The voice says, "Would you like me to defeat them for you?" He's like, mm-hmm. Would you like power? Yes. I will grant you this power, but at a slight cost. You will become the king of games. Midoriya's eyes shoot open as red, yellow, and blue energy come out of, it shoots through the roof of the USJ, flying into Midoriya. As 5 golden, like it's actually golden energy fly into Midoriya. as a bunch of energy just comes out of nowhere, also flying into him. As he gets up, he's like, ugh, what happened? When he opens his eyes, the world looks different. You know, he notices this black platform in front of him. What the? When he touches it, 2 stacks of cards appear. Whoa! You know, the villain, he looks at Shigaraki. And he's like, alright, so, what do I do? You know, as 5 cards fly off the top of the deck into his hand. He's like, whoa! Huh? Oh, may I remind you, Midoriya, these cards also directly affect Midoriya. And he can just have these cards out and, you know, people not notice them until he triggers, either they trigger the duel by attacking him, or he triggers the duel by, you know, saying, it's time to duel. And he can have, you know, he can have monsters on the field, but it's harder. So he will prefer to have spell and trap cards out more than monsters when he's not actually dueling. Because the spell and trap cards, if he's like attacked and he wants to, he can just trigger them. And if it's like negate attack, which if you don't know, if your opponent's monster attacks, it negates the attack and ends their phase. Basically, all it does is it just negates the attack. You know, the attack is nothing. So, you know, he sees these cards, you know, and he sees the cards in his hand glowing. Also, credit to Yu-Gi-Oh! Konami, or how you say that? Because, yeah, everyone knows why. Anyway, so he sees some cards glowing. He looks at these cards and he reads them. He's like, huh, okay. So I discard this. You know, as he says that, one of the cards flies out of his hand. He takes one of the cards and puts it in a spot that says graveyard. As a monster, a faint silhouette of a monster would appear on the field, but then immediately disappear. As the card that he was summoning flies out of his hand. The Tricky. If you don't know, the Tricky's effect is as follows. You can special summon this card from your hand by discarding 1 card. The card he discarded was Black Metal Dragon. Don't need to get into his effect because he really didn't trigger. You know, Midoriya, you know, the creature then popped out of a portal. He looked at Midoriya, then bowed, and then faced his opponents. You know, Midoriya's like, huh? Also, I'm going to say, just for funsies, the way that this works is, you know, if he's fighting multiple people, they all count as monsters and players. They have attack points, levels, life points, and defense points. Same for him, but he can create creatures that have their own set. So he can do some pretty crazy crap. So he's like, okay. When he goes to place, I place 1 card face down. You know, he places a card as a, you know, a really big version of the card appears in front of him. You know, he's like, whoa. You know, and then he's like, I summon the Black Stone of Legend. And then this card's effect is when it's distributed, summon 1 level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster from your deck. So Midoriya does just that. The deck floats up off the platform. Also, no one else can see, they can see the cards, but they can't, you know, if someone were to look at them, they couldn't see what was on them. Like, the cards are blank for them. Red Eyes Black Dragon appears. As a portal, you know, the stone cracks open as a black miasma with a red glow appears. You know, Midoriya's like, what the heck? You know, and as he's like... Also, since technically there's no other players with his ability, Midoriya can draw as many cards as he wants. Yeah, he's OP, don't judge me. So, he places his 2 cards face down, and he's like, okay, so... You know, one of the cards he just keeps in his hand. You know, the Nomu tries to attack. I'm gonna say the Nomu has... I'm gonna say 2,900 attack, and like 3,000, not 3,000, like 2,000, yeah, 2,900 attack and defense. So, you know, Midoriya sees a card, and he's about to attack him. Also, Midoriya's life points are set at 16, so, you know, he's pretty durable. And he's like, what do I do? You know, he sees one of the cards glowing. He flips it over. Magical, you know, as if out of nowhere, he says, magical dimension. Which, if this card is, if he controls a spellcaster, the Tricky is a spellcaster, target one monster, the opponent, yeah, he targets the Nomu, and you know, as he does that, the Nomu gets engulfed in a sarcophagus that's surrounded in iron bars as he gets pulled into the Shadow Realm. You know, as a blank card appears in Midoriya's right hand. It has the Nomu on, you know, all of the people sealed within the Nomu. As Midoriya looks at it and he's like, what the heck? He's like, release. You know, as he hears a voice in his head say, release. He's like, release? You know, as the card bursts into flames and their souls are released. Yeah, that's how Nomus are gonna work. As Dark Magician then is created, you know, he floats over to Midoriya and says, so you're the new master. Pleasure to meet you. I am the Dark Magician. You may use my powers as you see fit. You can also do some pretty crazy things. He's like, wait, you guys can talk? Well, only certain of us can talk. But most of us can. Except for these two. The Tricky can't speak, and the other one's a dragon. So, that's something. He's like, okay. Can you go start taking out some of the villains? As you command. Let's go, boys. You know, as they float off, as they go off and start attacking some of the villains. You know, the villains are having a tough time. Midoriya is like, huh. I wonder... You know, his eyes start glowing again. I summon King of the Swamp and activate Polymerization. As the Dark Magician looks behind him, he's like, oh, so he does know what to do. I use Red Eyes Black Dragon and King of the Swamp to fusion summon. Now, if you may be wondering, whoa, wait. For you though, those of you who don't know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh, basically Polymerization allows you to, if you have the right cards, special summon one monster. But since Midoriya doesn't have the right he doesn't have one specific card, King of the Swamp will change its name and everything to that card so he can use it. As both of the monsters, you know, turn into miasma. Basically, the Red Eyes turns to black and red, while the other one turns into like a greenish energy. As they both start swirling, as a new creature climbs out of the portal, you know, the siphon of energy. Archfiend, Black Skull's Dragon. Now, when this creature is made, it is freaking-gantic. Like, really big. So, as this happens, more cards go flying into Midoriya's hand. The deck has, Midoriya's quirk, unless he's fighting another person with the same quirk, which he might not, unless you want him to, will always keep his hand full. Bless me. He's like, huh. Man, these are really weird. Okay, sorry. I was doing something. As he notices a card glowing in his graveyard. Huh? What the? As he reaches over to it, the Black Stone of Legend immediately appears at the top of the graveyard. As he touches it, its secondary effect activates. It gets flung back into his hand, and Red Eye's Black Dragon is sent back into the deck. Which, yes, is actually its effect. I know, I actually have the cards. I actually use them as reference during this video. So, yeah. Anyway, so he's like, huh, I wonder what would happen if I... Screw it. He resummons the Black Stone of Legend, its ability kicks in, and then Red Eyes comes back onto the field. I dropped some cards. We're good, though. He's like, hold on. This one looks way more powerful. It's pretty much the same, except for it has, whatever. As Red Eye's Flare Dragon appears on the field. Yeah, I'm changing it to Red Eye's Flare Dragon. Its effect is just better. While doing this, I'm also screwing with my deck, so, hey, win-win. So he goes looking through his hand, and he notices 3 cards at the back of his hand that are glowing. Huh? What the? I'll look at them later. Right now, I need to do something. And... all of his monsters were doing work. They were, pretty much... Now, Shigaraki brought pretty much a full army of villains this time around. So, the monsters, they were only 4, but they had to be spread thin. So Midoriya had to think of something quick, or else his classmates wouldn't be saved in time. As he then flips over the one card that he had face down. Tricky's Spell 4. Basically, Tricky's destroyed, and if there are monsters on the field, which, villains, I'm still counting those, since there were like hundreds, they all get Midoriya gets token variants. So now, man has a full-fledged army. As 3 cards shoot in front of him and start floating in front of him. Huh? What the heck? He grabs all 3. Slifer the Sky Dragon? The Winged Dragon of Ra? Obelisk the Tormentor? What the heck? As his eyes turn blue, the others return to his hand. He's like, I tribute 3 monsters. I tribute 3 of my tokens to summon Obelisk, the Tormentor. Midoriya is also running around doing some work. He's realizing this as he's fighting, just because I want Midoriya to be extra cool. Now, when this happens, 3 of his tokens fly towards them. They all collide right in front of him. As the card is the thing that stopped it. As the card begins to spin. Sorry about that, hold on. His blue energy fires out of the card. A massive amount of it. As a giant, the card catches on pretty much, blue energy ignites around the card. As a gigantic pillar of blue light strikes down straight through the USJ. As arms shoot out of it, so do wings, as Obelisk the Tormentor appears. Now, he is stories taller than Archfiend Black Skull Dragon. Like, this man is huge. And Midoriya looks up at him like, holy crap. As Obelisk looks down, gives him a thumbs up. As he's like, wait, what's your other ability? As the card appears in his hand. Oh. I like that. If you don't know, Obelisk's second ability is tribute 2 monsters, aka in this instance tokens. Just give me. He nods. Has 2 more tokens that were, currently fighting villains. Well, stopping villains from hurting the students. Start flying towards Obelisk's face. He opens his mouth. It eats the tokens. Before they flew into his mouth, they turned into orbs, so we're good. As then he raises his right hand, clenches it, and then slams it into the ground. As a tremor was felt through the USJ, as spikes, blue spikes, shot out and hit every villain, knocking them out. Because Midoriya was like, okay, no killing, please. So all the villains were detained. He's like, holy crap, you're powerful. Oh. He's like, okay, well, as it finally hits him, all of the power he had to use to sustain his monsters finally hit him. The backlash of his power, if you will. He can only support a certain amount of monsters. Like I said, he's like, ugh, crap. As Dark Magician started to, fluctuate, all the creatures did. As Obelisk no, as Dark Magician flies over and he's like, think, creatures, oh, that's it, come on, bingo, ew, I hooded my finger, it hurt real bad. You know, as Dark Magician, then he, you know, he said, bring out Dark Magician Girl, you know, as he's like, 2 tributes, as 2 orbs, you know, shot towards Midoriya and Dark Magician Girl appeared. He's like, whoa, what the heck? I just woke up. Oh, hey Dark, what's going on? Silence, the new master is in incredible pain. Oh no, what do we do? Perform a healing spell, of course. Quickly, we haven't much time. You know, as Midoriya, a throne appears behind Midoriya as he sits down. As Dark Magician Girl and Dark Magician, you know, start healing him. Remember, he was running low on life points. You know, normally, at full HP, he has 16,000. At the moment, he had half of that, so 8,000. So he was gaining life points really quick. And he was like, ugh. As the tokens also started disappearing. You know, as Obelisk... No, wait. As Archfiend Black Skull and Red Eye's Flare Dragon went around and collected all the villains, tying them up. As Obelisk, you know, he vanished. He flew back into the deck with the other 3 god cards. You know. As he's like, okay, well, thank you guys. It was greatly appreciated. As they say, no problem. You know, even Archfiend is like, not a problem. You're the new master. We have to obey you. He's like, huh, that's nice. You know, as he disappeared, as so did Red Eye's Flare Dragon and the 2 Dark Magicians. Come on, you stupid. There we go. You know, he's like, huh, I need to go through this later. You know, as all of Class 1A runs up to Midoriya, who's still chilling out on the throne, like, Midoriya, what the heck happened? I think a new part of my quirk awakened. You know, he's obviously lying, but still, you know, he's gotta have some kind of excuse. Also, if Midoriya isn't in a full-fledged combat scenario, and he, you know, uses a counter trap, like, let's say someone tries to use their quirk on him, if he were to use something like Dark Bribe, it would negate the quirk's activation. So basically, if Bakugo tried to explode him, if Midoriya activated that counter trap, which actually it activates on its own, unless Midoriya tells it not to, Bakugo's quirk wouldn't work at all. In trap cards like Magic Cylinder, and Mirror Force would, send the attack back at the other, And cards like Torrential Tribute would basically be like an instant knockout card if Midoriya really wanted to use it. So, yeah, he's pretty powerful. Oh, yeah, and he will have, he can, now if he really wants to, he can have at least two monsters guarding him at all times. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, yeah. Anyway, so basically, Midoriya, he will always have, at the very least, 3 counter traps active, protecting him at all times. If he really wanted to, he could just make it, 2. And, those 2 monsters, they're set face down. So no one can see them, except for Midoriya. He can see their card layouts, and if he doesn't want to see them, he can just make them invisible to him, but he'll still know they're there. So the 3 cards he'll have protecting him, actually he'll have 4, just because. Give me a second. Oh, actually, now Now, Midoriya can, completely destroy people, like he did to the Nomu. But he's not going to do that. Now, he's going to have a few cards, trap cards, that are going to constantly protect him. Just so, he covers all of his bases. They will automatically reset after they're used. So it's actually pretty convenient. Now, also, Pendulum Monsters don't count for Midoriya, but since I only have 1 in my deck, he's only going to have 1. Because I'm basing this off of my Yu-Gi-Oh deck, which, yes, I do have one, and it's actually really powerful. Well, I would think so. So anyway, people, if he wants them to, people will always just see, like, this tiny little, well, not really tiny, it's like Mineta-sized crystal metal creature thing floating around Midoriya. And it technically, ow. Anyway, technically, this thing is guiding Ardenate. Basically, it makes it to where he doesn't have to pay life points to activate any trap, counter traps. So he's always gonna have her just chilling out. So one day Midoriya's walking, and, he's really tired. So when Bakugo tries to explode him, I'm gonna say he's like, ugh, I don't want to deal with this. As one of his monsters activates. Phoenix Gear Fiend, or Freed. Basically doesn't do much. It's actually a lot stronger than Bakugo. Like, a lot stronger. It's almost as strong as Midoriya, who has, equal attack and defense when using One For All. At 5%, he has equal attack and defense to Obelisk. Except for, Obelisk is an Egyptian god card and can't be destroyed by humans. Midoriya is yeah. Because of the cards, Midoriya is a lot more powerful. As Phoenix, I'm just gonna call it the Phoenix Knight, it appears and blocks the attack, knocking it away, about, cutting off Bakugo's head. Midoriya's like, stop. I'm so tired. He's like, I apologize, master. As he sheaths this, as he moves the sword back. You will not attack my master, or I will burn you to ash. As it disappears again. As he's like, so tired. What to do? Do I have any... as a card floats out of his deck out of nowhere, and he's like, oh, that looks really fluffy. Yeah. You know what? Nah, never mind. As he's like, oh, those look so fluffy. He's like, should I? He's walking into class thinking like, well, if I do, that would be extremely helpful, because I'm like super tired. And he's like, screw it. As he's like, scapegoat appear, as 4 multicolored goats appear in front of Midoriya. As they float over to Midoriya, and pretty much Midoriya just kind of lays down on them, and he's like, he's knocked out, he's tired. So Bakugo was like, they're not. As negate attack activates. No, wait. Mirror force. As a bubble appears around Midoriya, and the attack is blasted back at Bakugo with double the force. Basically, Midoriya's, even though my mirror force isn't like that. Oh, never mind. Yeah, so Bakugo, pretty much it does hit back with double the force, because Bakugo gets knocked out when he's attacked. Because of Mirror Force's effect. Technically, since none of the other people in White were attacking him, it wouldn't, instantly knock them out. As the bubble disappears, and then the card flips back down. As Midoriya wakes up, Scapegoat disappears. He's like, no. Huh? Oh, crap. Did Bakugo do something stupid? Yeah, he really did. Oh, fun. I ain't bringing him. His character was like, I'll do it. So anyway, yeah. Sports festival. Oh crap, the sports festival. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. So, Midoriya does do something interesting for the sports festival. His attack, since it's equal to Obelisk's, he can move as fast as, well, Obelisk should, but since he's an Egyptian god, he can pretty much teleport. But Izuku can run, he can run really, really quick. And he's also mastered full cowling, if I didn't mention that, but yeah. So Midoriya, he runs over, completes the obstacle course. He's like, so I need 3 people to be on my team, huh? As Midnight's like, yeah, that's what I said. He's like, cool. You 3, wake up. Oh yeah, if I didn't mention, Midoriya has been training for the 2 weeks that they were out. Now he can have up to 3 monsters, including Guiding Ardnate, down. and he can have them up for as long as he wants. It's just if he goes over that, it's harder to control them. So Dark Magician Girl, and Phoenix appear. They're like, yeah, boss? Listen, help me out with this, would ya? Because they're like, yeah, sure, you know. As Phoenix is like, but I can't float. He's like, that doesn't really matter. I mean, can't they cast flight magic on you? Yeah, they're like, yeah, we could. You know, as Phoenix is like, wait, you could have done that from the beginning? They're like, yeah, you never asked. You know, he's like, oh, yeah, that's fair, but still. Now you may be wondering, why hasn't he used the God cards? Well, it's because he doesn't know what brings them out. You know, he's not been in, like, an actual duel ever since, you know, the Shigaraki incident. Until now. See, when, you know, he gets into position, 5 cards, again, fly into his hand, and he's like, this again? Huh. You know, I kind of wanted to try something. Let's see if this works. As Tokoyami would try to, you know, summon Dark Shadows, Midoriya's like, not so fast, Tokoyami! As, you know, he activates a counter trap. And I may be wondering, wait, what? How does that work? Well, it works for multiple reasons. See, technically, you know, Tokoyami is summoning Dark Shadow. And because of that, Midoriya can counter it by using a counter trap. He uses Rebirth of the Parshath. You know, so the summon is negated, and a Parshath monster is summoned to his field. And you guys remember how I said he got rid of Neo Parshath at the beginning? Yeah, after a duel is completed, all the monsters return. So Neo Parshath appears, as he's like, let's see if I can pull this off. As he's like, I summon the Black Stone of Legend. Activate its effects. So, you know, Red Eye's Flare Dragon, once I find him, will appear. After I find him, like stated. Because, you know, I like having a visual aid. Because why not, you know. So, when Red Eye's Flare Dragon appears, he's like, okay, let's try something now. I use Red Eye's Black Flare Dragon and Neo Parshath, the Sky Paladin, to build the the overlay network. You know, as the two monsters begin to fly up, you know, in the order of his cards that are, you know, his chariot, pretty much, because if you remember the formation, it's Phoenix in the front, Dark Magician, and Dark Magician Girl both in the back. So, you know, these two are just kind of flying next to them. As they fuse, you know, as a black, pretty much galaxy opens beneath them both. As he says, I exceed summon! As, you know, the other 3 are like, whoa, he hasn't done this yet. Let's see how this goes. Red Eyes! Flare Metal Dragon! You know, as both the cards shoot, you know, as this black metal dragon, you know, that has, its wings are made of fire pretty much, and, you know, fire shooting out of ports all over its body, you know, it appears. As when this happens, you know, this, you know, 2 orbs start floating around it. He's like, what the heck? Okay, well, that's cool. So, you know, this creature fights off any of them, you know, people coming towards them, as well as Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, as well as Phoenix. Because they all, you know, because of Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, they cast pretty much a flying spell on Phoenix, so they all just kind of fly into the air. As Midoriya's like, I'm gonna take a nap. This is kind of fun. You know, and Midoriya wins. You know, first up is against Shinso, and he doesn't use his cards. He just fights him fair and square. You know, my man Shinso earned the respect. So, when he goes to fight Todoroki, something interesting happens. See, he does have all of the cards on the field, you know, the normal cards, Dark Magician Girl, Phoenix, you know, the jazz. As, you know, Todoroki's like, why don't you bring out your strongest? He's like, you couldn't handle it. There's no way. The 3 god cards are way too much. That would be overkill. And if you're not going to use your full power, now why in the world would I use mine? Tell me that, would ya? You know, Todoroki's like, because that's his quirk. As Midoriya says, it's not. It's your quirk. Use it. You know, as Todoroki fires up his right side, and he's, you know, his left side, and he's like, thanks. He's like, you've earned this. Sorry, guys. And they're like, we're used to it. Honestly, you know, Phoenix is like, I'm used to it. I honestly don't feel pain. None of us do, I don't think. As Dark Magician Girl is like, yeah, unless we're destroyed, which we can't be because, you know, none of the other creatures exist. None of our creatures exist in this world. We can't really be hurt. As Dark Magician's like, do as you please, user. Master. And he's like, I summon by tributing my 3 monsters. And he's like, as they're like, here we go. You know, as they light up a yellow color. And they all get sent to the graveyard. Now, they don't technically die, they just kind of, you know, their power gets fused together. I summon the winged dragon of Ra! You know, as they notice, like, what? It's not there. You know, as the sun gets a lot brighter, as a giant ball begins to pretty much fall from the sky. You know, the brothers are like, crap, we gotta stop that thing. And Midoriya's like, wait. Rah! Awaken! You know, he raises his right arm into the air. You know, as Ra comes out of its sphere form. Now, I don't have the actual sphere, the Winged Dragon of Ra sphere form, but, you know. Ra then, you know, he's created as Midoriya's like, man, this is gonna hurt really bad. I activate Ra's ability! You know, as Midoriya's like, how about I show you our life points? And, you know, Todoroki and everyone's like, life points? Yup. Everyone in this build, everyone on Earth has a maximum of 16,000. The moment these hit 0, you're dead. Permanently. Well, unlike me, I have cards that prevent me from dying, but it's really hard. It really hurts, I would think. I mean, dying must suck. But there are certain cards that have activation costs. I learned the hard way because of Ra. They're like, wait, what? Winged Dragon of Ra! Use your ability! As, you know, Ra's eyes immediately light up. Now, I don't remember what color. I think they're just golden, maybe red. Yeah, I think all the ones are red. So they light up red as, you know, a, golden energy, like a yellow energy, flies off Midoriya into Ra's mouth. As they all see Midoriya's life points immediately start shooting down. They're like, what is he doing? This is Ra's effect. I pay all my life points besides 100, and he gains that amount in power. What? Todoroki's like, wait, what? He now has 15,900 attack. When the Dragon of Law, use your attack, Raging Infernal Blast. As Ra, pretty much creates a giant fireball in both of its hands and in his mouth and just fires them all at him. As Todoroki gets blasted out of the ring, his life points drop down to 100. He's like, Midoriya's like, oh, man, this really sucks. As Ra then immediately disperses, going back into the deck with the other 3 Egyptian god cards. As, the other 3 reappear. As they're like, as Phoenix is like, heal him! As Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, DM Girl, all run over and they're like, we're trying! They both run over like, we're trying! As Midoriya's life point starts, going up, and he's like, why don't you go heal Todoroki? And they're like, okay. Dark Magician floats over. Dark Magician Girl's like, you really gotta stop being so risky. What? I pulled it off. I did a good job. I'd say it's a win-win. Plus, I knew I had you guys, and you couldn't lay a finger on me. You know the drill. I can't be hurt as long as I have a card on the field. Even if I don't, even if you guys disappear for some reason, my backup cards would have saved me. I can't be touched, unless I want to be. She's like, yeah, I know that, stupid. I still worry sometimes, though. You get yourself so dangerously low on life points. Yeah, but I know you guys will always have my back, so I'd say it's a win-win. Oh my god. Mother of God, whatever. And she's like, you are insufferable. But you can't disobey. So, Anyway, that's when we'll be leaving this part off, guys. If you did enjoy